तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and yesterday we just touched or started the conversation of Sunday, December 16, 1883. So let us take it up from the beginning again. Sri Ramakrishna was seated with M on the semicircular porch of his room at about 10 o'clock in the morning. The fragrance of gardenias, jasmines, oleanders, roses, and other flowers filled the air. The master was singing, looking at M. Thou must save me. He is not addressing him, looking at him, he is singing. Thou must save me, sweetest mother, unto thee I come for refuge. That is the M spirit when he has come to Dakshineshwar. Helpless as a bird imprisoned in a cage, I have done unnumbered wrongs, and aimlessly I roam about, misled by Maya's spell, bereft of wisdom's light, comfortless as a mother cow whose calf has wandered far away. Now, because this is a song, so Sri Ramakrishna sings it as it is. But if something from the song is not according to what he wants to say, he points out. Now the last line is a Vedic idea. In the Vedas it is said that the devotee seeks God as a mother cow seeks its calf. Master, but why? Why should I live like a bird imprisoned in a cage? Why? For shame. That means he is very emphatic and clear that this line is not according to what he wants to convey to Master Mahashaya. As the Master said these words, he went into an ecstatic mood. So this he is not saying from the ordinary world point of view, but rising higher, he sees a different color of the truth, and so he says this. His body became motionless and his mind stopped functioning. So he went into Nirvikalpa Samadhi immediately. Tears streamed down his cheeks. So Prema Shrudhara, Ananda Shrudhara is not incompatible with the Nirvikalpa Samadhi shown by Sri Ramakrishna. After a while he said, that means comes down a little, "Oh mother, make me like Sita, completely forgetful of everything, body and limbs, totally unconscious of hands, feet, and sense organs, only the one thought in her mind, where is Rama?" So what Thakur showed from this? That the one-pointed devotion and the Nirvikalpa Samadhi are not contradictory. From that height, coming just a little enough to communicate. He is telling, make me like Sita. And what is the meaning like Sita? Actually, this is a very typical Sita thought, very typical Sita thought, that I do not think of my body. I do not think of anything of the world. The only thought is Rama. Where is Rama? So, this is the Sita's condition, and Sri Ramakrishna wants to convey that impression to Master Masha. So he sang, he differed from the song, and he has emphasized this. Totally unconscious of hands, feet, and sense organs. Only the one thought in her mind. So there is a mind and there is a thought, but no body consciousness. Sita is not in Nirvikal Samadhi, but Sita's spirit is beyond the body, only the mind, and the mind also not wavering. The mind absolutely concentrated, if you can say so, in where is Rama. So, a, a climax of devotion, surrender, is showing through the character of Sita. Now, Master Maharaj's reflection. Was the master inspired by the ideal of Sita to teach M? Yes, that is the idea. So it strikes M, the yearning that a devotee should feel for God. A devotee's yearning for God should be like Sita. Sita's very life was centered in Rama. Now we thought of the mind, and now life. Life means in Bengali, generally heart is called pranas. And Ramagata prana, that means her life, her breathing, her very life moves in Rama, not in that body. Sita forgot even the body, which is so dear to all. So, where the devotion should lead us, he is showing to Master Mashai, and Master Mashai has caught or understood that point, that it is meant only for him. So that was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Now we come to at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mr. Mukherjee, a relative of Prana Krishna, arrived in the company of a Brahmin well versed in the scriptures. Now we have heard of Prana Krishna. Prana Krishna also is Mukhopadhyay, Mukherjee. And his relative is Andar Mukherjee, and that relative has come with a Brahmin well versed in the scriptures. So that is the situation. Mukherjee, I am very happy to meet you, sir. So here, uh, Here, slight difference. Mukurje Pranamantar. Mukherjee has saluted Sri Ramakrishna and then says like this. Now, why is especially happy to see Sri Ramakrishna? So Sri Ramakrishna reminds him, Master, God dwells in all beings. He is the God in all. In some places, it is more clearly manifest than in others. So he accepts that there may be special something in him, but he wants to impress upon Mukherjee that he should not forget simultaneously that God dwells in all. God dwells in the worldly minded, no doubt, but he is hidden there. That means neither that worldly minded man nor others see God in him, but he is present. Like gold under deep layers of clay. Gold, the most valuable metal, clay, valueless metal, valueless clay. Mukherjee. So that gives a seed of a question to Mukherjee's mind. And Mukherjee asks, Sir, what is the difference between worldly and otherworldly things? Worldly and beyond worldly. What is the difference? If you say God is in all, then what is the difference? Though Thakur has already told the difference of manifestation and he has exemplified it, but Mukherjee wants a philosophical discussion on that. Master, while striving for the realization of God, the aspirant has to practice renunciation, applying the logic of neti neti, not this, but after attaining the vision of God, he realizes that God alone has become all things. So, before telling the difference, he tells when this vision will be available. And there, 1 degree higher he has gone, because he had talked of God in all, and now he talks of God is all. And that is after the realization. So before the realization, we cannot see such thing. So we have to negate, because the things which appear, that appearance is not God. The reality in those things is God. So first we have to negate and see God in his own nature, and then illumination. That means we see light that God is all. So he expands this theme of God in all. He will come to the reply to that question perhaps later. At one time, Rama was overpowered by the spirit of renunciation. This is from Yoga Vasishta. Dasharatha, worried at this, went to the sage Vasishta and begged him to persuade Rama not to give up the world. The sage came to Rama and found him in a gloomy mood. Is it gloomy? Vimana hoye bose achen. Vimana hoye bose achen. Can it be a gloomy mood? Vimana means mindless state. Vimana means without a thought in the mind. Vimana means no thought of the world in the mind. Like that, Rama is sitting. The fire of intense renunciation had been raging in the prince's mind. Now, though he has learned all his things from Vasishtha, but the conclusion depends upon the individual. So the trend of Rama's mind being transcendent, he caught that world is unreal, only God is real. Vasishtha said, Rama, why should we renounce the world? Is the world outside God? No, that is a good philosophy. Huh? We say God created the world or world came out of God. But actually, physically, the world can never come out of God because God is all pervading. So, God appears as the transcendent reality and God Himself appears as this world. So, that is the meaning of God created this world. So, creation is not outside God. Reason with me. Rama realized that the world has evolved from the Supreme Brahman. So he said nothing. So Rama saw that world has evolved. Evolved means it was there, it manifested. Okay. Brahma theke world hoye. From Brahman, the world has come out. That is the Bengali. Thus, coming out is called evolution here. So he said nothing. So Rama was a high order, so he realized the immanence of Brahman immediately. Buttermilk is made from the same substance as butter. One who realizes this knows that the butter goes with buttermilk and buttermilk with butter. After separating the butter with great effort, that is to say, after attaining Brahmajnana, you will realize that as long as butter exists, buttermilk also must exist. Whenever there is butter, there must be buttermilk as well. As long as one feels that Brahman exists, one must also be aware that the universe, living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles exist as well. What Brahman is cannot be described in words. Everything has been polluted, uchishta, like food that has touched the tongue. That is, everything has been described in words, but no one has been able to describe Brahman. It is therefore unpolluted. I said this to Vidyasagar and he was delighted. We remember that conversation. But the knowledge of Brahman cannot be realized if the aspirant is worldly minded. Now he brings the topic of worldly minded. That means attached to the things of the world as separate from Brahman. That is the meaning of worldly minded. We do not see that all things are Brahman. We do not see that Brahman, from Brahman all things have come. We do not see the presence of Brahman in all things. So, other than Brahman, separate than Brahman, we see the manifold and we are attached to that manifold. That is the worldly minded. Is worldly minded even in the slightest degree. If anything other than God exists, then it does not realize God. This is the Upanishadic statement. Udaramantaram kurute naiva pashyati. One who makes or feels there is the slightest difference between the world and God, then he does not see God in his real nature. He succeeds in acquiring this knowledge only when his mind is totally free from woman and God. Now, what is attachment to the world? Attachment to enjoyment, attachment to the means of enjoyment. So, Thakur brings everything to the practical field. World is an idea for us. Woman and gold are concrete. So, attachment slightest to the world means attachment to woman and gold. Parvati once said to her father, Father, seek the company of holy men if you want the knowledge of Brahman. Let us have the full conversation and the context. Parvati is the daughter of king of mountains, that is Himalayas. And then he knew her as his daughter. When she was married to Shiva, and the whole world called her mother, then he understood that she is the mother of the universe. Now, when she had come to her father's house, Himalaya says, You are the mother of the universe. But I, being your father in the physical or worldly sense, do I have some claim on you? She said, What do you want, father? Father said, I want to have the visions of all the gods and goddesses. I want the various spiritual experiences. Parvati said, You just close your eyes and think of anything. You will get the vision by my power. So he saw, and his spiritual ambition grew further. And he has heard and he knows that Nirguna Brahma realized in Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the highest point. So he asked her, Can you give me that vision? Now here Parvati tells him, there is a question of the constitution of the mind. This is such a beautiful thing in Thakur. Because when we read Shankar Bhashya, we feel as if he is denying any spirituality to grastas. They should follow rituals and they should follow karma kanda. But in the Prashnopanishad, question is asked, what does Om give? And there the Rishi says, Om gives both the Saguna Brahma and the Nirguna Brahma, or as they are called, the lower and higher Brahma. Now, we have discussed this many times. That is, the Grahastha's life is built upon subject-object consciousness. And that is the very nature of his mind, constitution of a Grahastha's mind. Otherwise, he would not have married. And that is the difference between the sannyasi and the Grahastha. So the sannyasi does not feel like that, is not half. So he can realize God in his transcendent nature. Up to this, agreed. But God himself is immanent. You may have the subject-object consciousness, but the object, instead of being the world or worldly objects, the only object you think is God. So there is a great difference between God as the object and world as the object. So the Grahastha can rise even with his subject-object consciousness up to one pointed or only vision of God, which is called Avyavicharini Bhakti and all that. And so that is not less than mukti. This is the great difference Thakur is telling again and again, because he has realized God with retaining himself as the subject, but all the objects have vanished from him. He has seen that God is all. Though the rishis saw it after coming back, but the rishis have described now that God is all, as Vasishtha told Rama. So one can realize God even though he is a grahastha, is a clear difference of emphasis in Sri Ramakrishna above what Shankar talks. And so, God being all, why not? Whenever the question is raised in the Gospel, we have seen several times. Can a householder not realize God? Thakur immediately telling, why not? Of course, with riders, but he should renounce. Here also, he should renounce woman and gold. Understood? Worldly minded means attachment to woman and gold. Householder does not mean necessarily attachment to woman and gold. So he may be remaining in the house, because of which his constitution may be subject-object relation in the mind. But if he gives up the idea of enjoyment of objects in the world or means of objects in the world and has God only as his object, let him remain as the subject. He has realized the immanent aspect of God, or he has experienced God as the only object worth experiencing. That is a very clear difference in emphasis between Shankar and Sri Ramakrishna. I will tell you 2-3 things more. If Shankar's statement, his statement is completely all right about the absolute truth, nobody denies. And he also does not deny the immanent self. But emphasis, in emphasis, Shankar's 3 points will pinch us. One is that God is transcendent, is overemphasized. The immanent nature of God is downplayed. Maybe that was the need of the age, or we do not challenge it. Second point, realization or Vedanta is only for the sannyasis, not for the householder. Thirdly, his presentation is so intellectual, rational in appearance that people have forgotten that Vedanta is a science of experience, not of reasoning. Shankar's emphasis, he himself says that Vyasdev says Tarka Apratishtanat, and there Shankar says that you can logic in one way, the other person can logic in another way, there is no base for logic. But his presentation, according to the need of the age, is so logical that people think Vedanta is only to be understood by the logical mind. Now these 3 things we see in Sri Ramakrishna. First, no overemphasis in transcendence. Though again and again, repeatedly, he tells that is the final. But he himself says I stay sometimes in the transcendent, sometimes in the manas. Equal emphasis for the transcendental aspect of God and for the personal aspect of God. Second point, sannyasis may realize that, householder may not realize that, but householders are not to be condemned. Householders can realize God as the only object, and that is enough for giving them mukti, though Shankar calls it krama mukti. Third point, he told, his presentation, Thakur, has better logic than all in the world. We shall see this, or we have seen this, because Swami Vivekananda was recognized by the scholars of the whole world, including the Western world, that his logic is superior than us. And such Vivekananda was defeated by Thakur in logic. You know that incident? Having that emphasis on Nirgun and Nirakar in his mind, Swami Vivekananda ridiculed those who worship images and said that they have andha vishwas, blind faith. Sri Ramakrishna immediately retorted or asked him, you put an adjective before faith, that is blind. Does it not imply that there is some other faith which has eyes? Otherwise, what is the meaning of the word adjective? Tell me. Swami Vivekananda says he thought and thought and thought and could not find any answer to what Sri Ramakrishna asked. And from that day, he said he gave up that expression and that idea. So, this is the one clear point, and we shall see like that. So, Sri Ramakrishna's logic is superior than everybody, but he knows more, he lays more emphasis on the experiential aspect of spirituality, experiential object, emphasis on Vedanta. When it has to be told, Shankar also has to tell it. You take the Aitari Upanishad. The description is God had some water with him. God did austerity, water came out. From that water, he took a lump of clay, made man, entered into that man. So the question, logical question is asked, this does not appear to be logical. Shankar says, don't go after logic. You just try to follow the purpose of the Rishi. He wants to tell you that there is nothing but God in the world. So, logic is not the only way to get at God. I would add, logic sometimes becomes an obstruction. Logically, we understand that God is this and God is that. It remains a logical understanding. We do not experience. We do not realize it. And so, the third point is that there are in Advaita Vedanta epistemology, there are 6 means of knowledge. All the 6 means are discussed to tell us that they do not reach the reality. And 2 of them are like logic. One of them is like similar to this, similar to this, similar to this. Now the logicians have an habit of telling similar is not same. Similar has not given an exact idea. The man who uses simile says, your logic has never given a semblance of experience. So, we do not want to enter the superiority, inferiority of the secondary means. In the Vedantic scheme, logic is allowed only to understand properly what the rishis have said. The only praman is Rishi Vakya. Secondary praman is logic or any such exercise, even the similes, to understand and absorb. And the third and final praman is our experience. So a new scheme is made in Vedanta, Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. All the six pramanas, Pratyaksha, Hanuman, Upaman, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi, and Laukik Shabda Praman are absolutely insufficient when we think of the reality. Please, even about the world, can we understand anything of this world by logic? Logic is a part of our today's mind. And when you try to understand the real nature of anything of this world, we throw the web of our mind on that. And whatever is caught as a projection in that web, we say we know. So, knowledge about even a particle of clay is not complete by logically thinking of mind. Now, this simile and all that are in the same category, but it gives a semblance of experience. That is the difference. Exact, if you say, exact will come only when we realize God. Swami Vivekananda has beautifully said in his song on Samadhi, Bojhe pran bojhe jat. He only understands whose heart realizes. So only in realization we know exactly what is Brahman. And so we cannot describe. And so Brahman is not uchishta, Brahman is not polluted, which a scholar like Vidyasagar had to accept any light. So this is there was a great philosopher, Mahendranāth Sarkar. And he said in one of his lectures, you can get a perfect system, but truth will escape you. If you are hunting after a logically congruent system, you can get it. But the truth will escape you because truth is to be experienced. It is not part of any logical system. Anyway, so in Sri Ramakrishna, we see these 3 points corrected. And that is why we call him Avatar Varishtaya. If what Shankar said may have been sufficient for the days of Shankar, but in today's world, we want demonstration of everything, and that is why God Himself came as Sri Ramakrishna. And that is why we are studying this gospel. So here we come back. Parvati is telling her father that unless the constitution of mind changes, you cannot go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I can give you everything, but I can give means a subject-object experience, maybe of the highest order. But Nirvikalpa Samadhi depends upon the constitution of the mind. If the mind has constituted in a subject-object fashion, then that is not available. And so, to get your mind colored in the other type, you must associate with the sannyasis. Now let me tell something funnily. Funnily means extension of this story. Himalaya was a king, so immediately sent drummers throughout his kingdom to announce that if any sannyasi comes, I want his company. And we, the praja of King Himalaya, will take care of that sannyasi's all other requirements. Food, clothing, or whatever the sannyasi requires, it is we will take care because I want company of sannyasi. And so, even today, those who live in Uttarakhand around Himalayas, sannyasi need not bother about his worldly needs. And what happened to Himalaya? He associated with the sannyasis, and so he became Nirvikalpa Samadhiman, he became a Sthita Prajna, and that is what we see today. And if we too much disturb him, he is sitting in Samadhi. If we too much disturb him by cutting the trees and this and that, then we get landslides. What are landslides? The king Himalaya just shrugging or moving his body, vibrating the body a little because somebody is disturbing him again and again. So that is the continuation of this story. So now this he has stated the background to answer Mr. Mukherjee. Addressing Mr. Mukherjee, Sri Ramakrishna said, "You are rich and still you call on God. That is very good indeed. It is said in the Gita that those who fall from the path of yoga are born in their next birth as devotees of God in rich families." So, in a good point he sees, he emphasizes that. If any good point he sees, he brings the scriptures to explain that, so that that man will feel encouraged. So, difference between worldly and non-worldly, he has indirectly replied, those who are attached to woman and gold, they cannot see God. Those who are not attached to woman and gold, even in living in household, they can see God. And now he wants to put Mr. Mukherjee in that second category. Mr. Mukherjee quoted the line from the Gita because he was a scholar also. Now here, he had brought a scholar with him. So Thakur is talking to Mr. Mukherjee, but he also must not have been a lay scholar. So in the 6th chapter of the Gita, Shuchi Nam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Abhijayate. You want the complete idea there? If somebody has progressed much in spirituality in this life, then he is born in poor families who are yogis. So he does not require this convenient situation. That is the Gita. Here, Thakur has quoted this much because he is inspiring Mr. Mukherjee. Master, God, if he so desires, can keep a jnani in the world too. So that is Thakur's point. Jnani, one who realizes the transcendent reality, is called a jnani. Now, he also can be kept in the world. Everything in the world depends upon the will of God and on nothing else. So God can keep a little I consciousness, means subject-object consciousness, in the man of knowledge. He knows that it is only an appearance, but it is there. So God's will, a jnani also, can be kept in the world. The world and all living beings have been created by His will, but He is self-willed. Self-willed has come. Now we have been asked to pray to God for this or this or this. Whether we will get it or not, because we do not know what we need. We feel this I need, that I need. They are wants of our mind, not need. And God is the wisest person. He knows what this man really needs. So if he feels in his judgment that I should give this to man, he will give. Otherwise, simply by our shouting, he will not give. I will tell you a story. I was in Mumbai, and one boy was from his childhood. He was there. He believed in God, whatever his idea was about God. And he was a brilliant student. So he used to pass all his exams in very good marks. Now, in the LLM previous examination, part 1 or some examination, he spoiled a paper, as we say. He could not do one paper well. Being a devotee, he prayed to God, though I spoiled, please make me pass. And God did not oblige. God made him fail in that paper. So a reaction came to his mind. He said, either there is no God, or if there is a God, he is not all powerful. If I had done good paper, what is there? But if I had spoiled, and he could not make me pass. So his friends brought him to me. And he started preaching this idea in and out always. Though secretly he used to go for discourses and all that. Now when he came to me and narrated his thing, I said, God can do anything as per his will, not your will. And had he accepted what you said, you would have been all powerful, not God. So remember this, please. We are free to pray. God will do what he wants. Of course, this is not that arbitrary. God will do what he thinks best, not we what we think. Anyway, I have told the another story perhaps sometime. Sometimes God accepts our desire, but not in the way in which we want. I told you. I was the warden in Nagpur, and the kitchen was common. And the head cook and boys were always in conflict. And the head cook went on 1 month leave. So I prayed to God, please change our cook. And he did not come after 1 month. I felt happy, but he came 4 or 5 days afterwards. So I said, God has not heard me. But I saw that after that day, there was no quarrel between the head cook and the boys. So God changed the cook. God changed the mind of the cook instead of changing that cook. So we have every right to pray. And God has every right to do as he likes, as he thinks correct. So anyway, this is more true about the supremely wise Holy Mother. In Bengali, there is a song, Ichha mai tara tumi. তোমার কর্ম তুমি করো মা লোকে বলে করি আমি. So you are Ichamai, self-willed. Anyway. Mukherjee with a smile. How can God have any will? Does he lack anything? This another argument of the transcendental people. And the answer in Vedanta is why not? His will does not make him imperfect like us. His will is different, our will is different. Master, what wrong in that? Thakur's wisdom is real. Water is water, whether it is still or in waves. The snake is a snake, whether it is coiled up motionless or wriggles along. A man is the same man, whether sitting still or engaged in action. So don't forget that God is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of this world. Is it not his will? How can you eliminate from the reality the universe and its living beings? If you do that, it will lack its full weight. You cannot find out the total weight of the bell fruit if you eliminate the seeds and shell. But Brahman is unattached. So this is not real. This is appearance of Brahman. The world may be false, but the false world is God's creation, not yours or mine. One finds good and bad smells in the air, but the air itself is untainted. Brahman and Shakti are identical. So this power to create, preserve, and destroy the world is called Shakti. And Shakti is God creates, he becomes Shakti. It is the primordial power that has become the world and all living beings. So when we look at the world, we say his power. When we look at his reality, we say God is transcendent. Mukherjee, why does one deviate from the path of yoga? So now he has got, Thakur has told that those who deviate from the path of yoga, they are born like. And Mukherjee himself quoted that line from the Gita. But now he wants to know the psychology. Master, as the saying goes, in my mother's womb, I was in a state of yoga. Coming into the world, I have eaten its clay. The midwife has cut one shackle, the navel cord. But how shall I cut the shackle of Maya? So this is something Thakur has brought from some book. That means there is no why here, but there is a fact that as soon as I enter the world, I am trapped. Maya is nothing but woman and gold. It comes back to its theme. Maya is nothing but taking unreal things as real. Maya is nothing but attachment to enjoyment of objects and enjoyment of the means. A man attends yoga when he has freed his mind from these two. So don't ask why, but it is like this. A parallel example is from Mahapuruji's life. He was sitting in his room and he was in very depth of feelings. So generally nobody was allowed to enter the room. But one man came and pushed the sevak and entered. And as if the whole pain of the world in his mind, he holds Mahapuruji's feet and says, why there is misery in the world? Mahapuruji very silently tells him, I cannot tell you why there is misery in the world, but I can make you free from that misery. So, the very question why is logic. Logic is Maya. Buddha was asked about it. Why man suffers? He said, suppose an arrow, poisoned arrow, hits a man. Will you discuss from where it has come, which company it was made into, or pull out and tend to that man? A man attends yoga when he has freed his mind from these two. The self, the supreme self, is the magnet, the individual self is the needle. So this is another fact, that God is always attracting us, continually attracting us. And the only example is magnet and the needle. If the needle is covered with clay, mud, it cannot feel that attraction. If that impurities are not there, it will feel the attraction. I told once that the spiritual life is described as self-centripetal. The self drawing towards circle, center, whatever are its shadows or other things. The self, the supreme self is the magnet, the individual self is the needle. The individual self experiences the state of yoga when it is attracted by the supreme self to itself. But the magnet cannot attract the needle if the needle is covered with clay. It can draw the needle only when the clay is removed. The clay of woman and God must be removed. So again it comes to that. You should feel they are unreal. You should not be. And not only unreal, they are the obstructions from the pull of God. So when you give it up, transcend it, God will pull. Mukherjee, how can one remove it? So he's asking now, practically. Master, weep for God with a longing heart. Tears shed for him will wash away the clay. When you have thus freed yourself from impurity, you will be attracted by the magnet. Only then will you attain yoga. Mukherjee, priceless words. Now he is satisfied. All his questions have been answered by God himself. Master, if a man is able to weep for God, he will see him. Now there again, if he is able to, he will go into samadhi. We shall read this portion on Monday. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadatam Bhui Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Do you remember which devotee asked that? And if I written here.
For both, sir.
Huh?
Yesterday's verse.
That shloka is from where?
Both, sir.
Huh? Who asked me? And if I written here, they will see it. No? I have written even on the photo.